As soon as Clyde arrives at the prison, the cops treat him strangely well. They bring him a comfortable bed and serve him fine meals from the best restaurants. Other prisoners don't know who he really is, but the cops do. His name is Clyde Alexander Shelton, a quiet tinkerer with a mind sharper than anyone expects. Behind bars, he has already killed several judicial staff members, and now the police do whatever he wants, hoping to stop more deaths. But Clyde's killings aren't random. They are planned, and they have a reason. Years ago, he was just an ordinary man, spending a calm evening at home with his wife and little daughter. Their laughter filled the house until a sudden knock came at the door. Without thinking, Clyde opened it, and everything changed. Two men forced their way in, beating him down before his eyes could even focus. Tied up and helpless, Clyde watched one intruder assault his wife and take his daughter away. He saw their faces, knew exactly who they were, and believed justice would come. But when the case reached court, justice failed him. His attorney, Nick Rice, one of the city's top prosecutors, cared more about winning than what was right. Nick believed success meant keeping his perfect record, not defending the truth. Even with Clyde's pleas, the DNA, and his eyewitness account, Nick said the evidence was unreliable and that the judge had already ruled it weak. A deal was the only way out. In the end, the man who actually committed the crime, Darby, agreed to testify against his partner. The innocent one would face execution, while Darby would walk free in just 5 years. Nick knew it was wrong, but he still signed a deal, thinking it was a victory. When the sentence was announced, Clyde was left stunned and broken. Outside the courthouse, he saw Nick and Darby shaking hands, both smiling at the outcome. Clyde came for justice, but all he found was a system that protected the guilty. That night, Nick returned home to his wife, talking softly to his unborn daughter. He told her not to rush into a world like this, a world full of dangerous, heartless people. 10 years later, Nick's life has moved on. His daughter has grown, and his work has made him one of the most respected prosecutors in the city. On the same day, the man who was sentenced to death for the Shelton case is finally set for execution. As always, Nick is too busy for family. He apologizes to his daughter for missing her music recital, explaining that he must attend the execution, the one linked to Clyde's family tragedy. He arrives at the prison with his assistant, Sarah, a sharp and dedicated lawyer who mirrors his work ethic. Inside the chamber, the condemned man is given his final chance to speak. Trembling, he swears to God that he didn't kill those people, repeating that an innocent man is dying today. His words echo in the room, leaving Nick, Sarah, and Darby's lawyer, Bill Reynolds, exchanging uneasy looks. The lethal injection begins, a process meant to bring a quiet, painless death. But instead, the man starts convulsing in unbearable agony, gasping and screaming until his life fades away. The room falls into chaos. Guards rush in, doctors panic, and the witnesses stare in horror. Soon after, Nick and Detective Dunnigan inspect the remains of the execution setup. They find the injection bag tampered with, a chilling phrase scrawled across it, "Can't fight fate." The words hit Nick immediately. It's the same phrase Darby used years ago. Meanwhile, Darby is at home, snorting drugs, and watching the news about the execution. His phone rings. A calm, unknown voice warns him that the police are already on their way. Startled, Darby grabs a gun, shoots at the approaching officers, and flees. The mysterious voice keeps guiding him through the chaos, directing his escape as if watching every move. Following the instructions, Darby steals a police car and drives off, thinking he's in the clear. But when he turns to face the officers standing in front of him, he freezes. It's Clyde, the same man whose life he destroyed. Darby fires without hesitation, but the gun backfires. It's been rigged with a paralyzing poison. He freezes, rigid and helpless, just as Clyde steps closer. Calmly, Clyde injects adrenaline into him to keep him conscious.
But you feel everything.
Forcing him to feel every moment of pain and fear. Now it's Darby's turn to experience the helplessness Clyde once felt. While Nick and Sarah dig through Darby's records, something feels off. Darby was never smart enough to escape a planned police chase, yet everything this time looked perfectly orchestrated. Before Nick can think deeper, Detective Dunnigan calls with shocking news. Darby has been found dead, his body cut into 25 pieces. The place where the remains were discovered turns out to be one of Clyde's own garages. Acting fast, the police move in, and Clyde doesn't resist. He walks out calmly, surrendering himself as if everything is already done according to plan. Inside Clyde's home, investigators find walls covered with photos, case files, and legal textbooks. It's clear he's been studying the law for years, preparing, watching, and planning every move. At the precinct, Nick and his team realize they still have no solid evidence to convict him, so Nick decides to push for a confession. But before he can begin, a package arrives at his home. His young daughter, thinking it's a recording of her music recital, plays it on the TV. To her horror, the video shows Darby's brutal murder, recorded by Clyde himself. Unaware of what's happening at home, Nick sits across from Clyde in the interrogation room. He turns off the microphone for a moment, speaking quietly, telling Clyde that as a father and a husband, he understands his pain and even feels proud of his courage. Then he switches the mic back on, returning to his professional tone. Nick asks if Clyde murdered Darby or arranged the other killings. Clyde doesn't deny it, but he doesn't confirm it either. Calmly, he says he's imagined killing Darby in his mind countless times again and again. His words sound deliberate, not quite a confession, but enough to frustrate Nick. Trying to stay in control, Nick demands to know what Clyde wants. Clyde answers smoothly that since Nick is such a skilled negotiator, he'll make a deal. He'll give a full confession if Nick arranges for a comfortable bed in his cell. Nick laughs at the absurd request and walks out, thinking Clyde is mocking him. Moments later, his phone rings. It's his wife, crying hysterically about the horrible video their daughter just saw. Nick freezes, realizing Clyde wasn't joking at all. The next day, Clyde receives exactly what he asked for, a luxurious bed that instantly makes him the center of attention among the prisoners. Meanwhile, Sarah reports that Clyde owns multiple garages and even holds 2 active contracts with the Pentagon. Nick orders her to dig deeper into his finances and movement records. Somewhere beneath all these details, he knows Clyde's true plan is still unfolding. At the court hearing, Nick argues that Clyde should not be granted bail, insisting that his wealth and intelligence make him a serious flight risk. When it's Clyde's turn to speak, he stands calmly and addresses the judge with quiet confidence. He reminds the court that he has no criminal record and claims he's a respectable citizen who simply wants fair treatment. Then he points out that the prosecutor has no solid evidence against him, referencing similar past cases to strengthen his argument. His words are sharp, logical, and far too convincing. Even the judge seems swayed, agreeing to release him on bail. Nick can't believe what he's hearing. Losing patience, he raises his voice, reminding the court that Clyde has already killed 2 people. At that moment, Clyde's polite mask drops. He turns his anger toward the system itself, exposing its hypocrisy, how criminals like him can walk free because of clever legal loopholes. His outburst forces the judge to pause, realizing her mistake, and she immediately reverses her decision. Within a single minute, Clyde has proven his point about how easily justice can bend. Later, during interrogation, Nick confronts Clyde about the disturbing DVD, furious that his daughter saw such horror. Clyde remains calm, saying she should learn early that in this world, good and evil always clash, and in the end, the good must win. Nick ignores the twisted logic and demands the confession Clyde promised. This time, Clyde doesn't play games. He confesses to killing both men, but adds that he has another confession to offer, in exchange for a meal. Like before, he makes a strange demand, a full steak meal with all the sides, to be served before 1 p.m. In return, he promises information about the missing man, Darby's lawyer, Bill Reynolds. At first, Nick refuses, but his tone changes when he learns that Bill has been missing for 3 days. "I'll tell you exactly where he is. Just bring me my meal and my music at 1 o'clock exactly. 1 o'clock sharp. 1 o'clock, Nick." Finally, he gives in. Soon after, the guards deliver an expensive meal to Clyde's cell, while Nick and his team wait anxiously. Clyde eats slowly and neatly, as if he's enjoying a restaurant lunch rather than sitting in prison. When he asks the prison warden for the time, the man says it's exactly 1 o'clock, but Nick checks his watch and corrects him. It's already 1 o'clock. Clyde sighs with quiet disappointment, muttering that they're late. Still, he keeps his word and reveals Bill's location. Nick and the team rush out, even deploying helicopters to reach the site. But by the time they arrive, Bill is already dead, suffocated in a small, sealed container. Back at the prison, Clyde finishes his meal, then casually offers leftovers to his cellmate. When the man accepts, Clyde snaps a bone from his steak and drives it into the man's neck, killing him instantly. Afterward, he calmly lies down on his bed, waiting to be taken into solitary confinement, exactly as planned. That night, Nick confronts Clyde again, calling out his madness and naming the people Clyde has killed. But Clyde stays calm, saying the dead can't hear him, only the living can. His words echo in the room like a quiet warning. Later that evening, Nick and District Attorney Jonas Cantrell secretly meet a military intelligence officer, hoping to uncover who Clyde really is. They soon learn something shocking. Clyde isn't just an engineer. He once worked for the Pentagon as a specialist in covert operations, a man who could take out high-profile targets with precision and without noise. He didn't need bombs or missiles. He could kill with a tie rigged with a carbon fiber cord. Maybe back then, Clyde even taught Mossad how to rig Hezbollah's pager and walkie-talkie. The next day, driven by fear and frustration, Nick and the DA push the judge to restrict Clyde's rights even further, though they have no solid evidence. The judge reluctantly agrees and signs the order. But just as she finishes, her phone rings. When she answers, the phone explodes in her hands, killing her instantly. Nick rushes back to the prison, furious, demanding Clyde to stop. But Clyde tells him this isn't about revenge anymore. It's about proving how broken the system is, how people like Nick help it stay that way. He says if he wanted pure revenge, he could have done it years ago. Instead, he's showing the world what happens when justice fails. Then Clyde offers a chilling deal. Release him before 6 a.m. or everyone will die. Nick refuses to play his game and instead tries to find whoever might be helping Clyde outside. His assistant, Sarah, manages to trace some of Clyde's financial activity, though most of it is still hidden. She quietly asks Nick if what they're doing is really right anymore. Nick insists it's just part of the job. But Sarah's voice trembles with exhaustion. She's 35, tired of living in fear and chasing death every day. When 6 a.m. arrives, the whole team freezes, waiting for something to happen. Minutes pass and nothing does. Believing Clyde was bluffing, they start to relax and walk to their cars. But as soon as the engines start, the vehicles explode in a chain of fire. Among the dead is Sarah. Nick and the DA watch in horror, realizing Clyde has once again predicted every move. The bombs were triggered by a simple signal as soon as the doors opened. The incident shocks the entire city, and the mayor demands answers. But no one has any. Later, Nick sends his wife and daughter away, warning them not to use credit cards or phones until it's over. Then he confronts Clyde once again. Rage and guilt mix inside him as he lands a punch. Clyde only smirks and says the real war is about to begin.
I'm gonna pull the whole thing down.
Not long after, while Nick and the DA attend Sarah's funeral, a bomb disposal robot suddenly approaches their car, but instead of defusing bombs, this one is armed. The machine turns its weapon toward them, another move from Clyde's twisted plan. After the chaos, the DA is gone too, leaving Nick as the only one still standing. The mayor blames him for everything, but with no one else to take the role, she reluctantly promotes him to district attorney in Jonas's place. She then orders the entire city to go on lockdown, flooding the streets with police in fear of what Clyde might do next. Still haunted by what happened, Nick goes back to the file of Clyde's murdered family. This time, he truly understands what Clyde meant all along. He finally gets it, how the system failed him and how his own choices helped it happen. But it's already too late. While going through Sarah's mail, Nick discovers a purchase Clyde made for industrial materials under a false name. The order was linked to a warehouse right beside the prison, one that was never listed among Clyde's properties. With Detective Dunnigan, Nick sneaks inside. At first, it looks like an ordinary workshop, but when they raise a car lift, they uncover a hidden tunnel leading straight into the prison. Every solitary cell was connected underground. Clyde had built it himself, which is why he insisted on being locked in solitary confinement. He never needed help from anyone. He was the mastermind behind every move. Meanwhile, Clyde, disguised as a janitor, enters City Hall, where the mayor is holding a meeting. At his hideout, Nick and Dunnigan realize the bomb is already planted there. They rush to City Hall before it's too late. When they arrive, the building is quiet. Clyde has already vanished. The bomb is armed to explode 30 seconds after a phone call is made.
Looks like it's triggered by this cell phone here.
Instead of alerting the mayor, Nick makes a quick decision. He locks down the roads, hoping to stop Clyde before he can escape. Moments later, Clyde returns to his cell through the tunnel, just as planned, but he's too late. Nick is already waiting for him. Nick tells him he's never seen anyone break into prison before. Clyde, holding the phone, smiles and says people will soon understand his message. Nick calmly tells him that killing everyone won't make things right. It will only leave him guilty forever. He adds that he will never negotiate with criminals again and walks away, leaving Clyde behind. As Clyde makes the call, he slowly realizes the bomb is not under City Hall. It's under his own bed. The bag is secured with handcuffs, making it impossible to open. Clyde sits quietly, holding the small hand chain his daughter once gave him. He looks at it one last time before the explosion engulfs the room. The man who fought a broken system alone is finally gone. The city breathes again, but Nick is left changed forever. He understands now. Justice means nothing without conscience. In the final scene, he sits in silence, watching his daughter perform on stage. And with that, the story fades out. See you again in my next video.